The story begins in Yorkshire, England in 1996, where two childhood friends, Claire and Danny, spend their days playing and getting into harmless mischief. But everything changes the day Claire comes up with a plan to steal from a local store. She tells Danny to go inside and pretend he's lost just to distract the shopkeeper. Danny is nervous, but Claire urges him to be brave. While Danny talks to the store owner, Claire slips in, grabs a few items, and bolts out unnoticed. But when she returns for Danny, the shopkeeper calmly says that Danny's father already came to pick him up. In that moment, Claire realizes something is terribly wrong. She knows that man wasn't Danny's father, and she's just witnessed something frightening. Danny never comes back. He was kidnapped. And although the kidnapper was eventually caught and sentenced, no one ever discovered what truly happened to Danny, or where his body went. The mystery stayed unsolved. The story jumps forward 25 years. Claire is now an adult returning to her hometown, but the memory of Danny's disappearance still haunts her. During her visit, she runs into Bill, Danny's father, at a small restaurant. Bill is a changed man, emotionally distant and still crushed by grief. Claire, now a podcaster, listens as Bill reveals something unexpected. He believes Danny might still be alive. Bill asks Claire if she would cover Danny's case on her podcast, hoping it might bring attention or even uncover new clues. Claire hesitates, explaining that her podcast is small and probably won't reach enough people to make a difference. But Bill isn't ready to give up. He insists he's willing to try anything, no matter how far-fetched it sounds. Claire agrees to help, not because she truly believes they'll find Danny, but because she carries deep guilt. After all, it was her idea that led Danny into the shop that day. She feels responsible. Bill believes Danny's remains might be buried in the moors, a vast, wild, and desolate area filled with tall grass and uneven terrain. Somehow, he has information pointing him there, though the source of that knowledge remains a mystery. The next day, Bill introduces Claire to Liz, a local ranger familiar with the moorland. Together, they venture into the remote countryside. Claire feels uneasy. The moors are cold, empty, and eerily silent. With no one else around for miles, her childhood fears resurface. What if something happens to her too? Throughout the story, interviews with townspeople provide context. A retired detective named Thornley recalls the original case, explaining how children were disappearing one after another. No bodies were ever found, and people were terrified to even send their kids to school. Everyone lived under the shadow of a predator hiding in plain sight. Someone had been taking children without leaving a single trace. Back at home, Bill shows Claire a hand-drawn map covered in marked location spots he's already searched for Danny's remains, and new areas he still plans to explore. One particular location stands out, and Claire becomes curious. She decides to meet Detective Thornley herself, hoping he can help her understand what Bill is doing. During their conversation, Thornley seems confused. He explains that the moor Bill is searching was already thoroughly investigated back when Danny disappeared. Nothing was ever found. So why is Bill focusing on that same area again? Thornley lays out several overlapping maps, revealing that the moor is far larger than it appears. Bill has only been searching a tiny section of it. Claire leaves the meeting more puzzled than before. When she returns home, she sees a man visiting Bill, a man named Alex, holding a pendulum. Claire watches as Alex slowly swings it over the map. The pendulum begins to move on its own, eventually drifting to a stop over a very specific point. Bill immediately marks the spot. When Claire asks who Alex is, Bill simply says he's a friend helping out. Claire doesn't push further, but something about the situation feels off, and her uneasiness grows. The next day, Bill, Claire, and Liz head back out to the moors. This time, Claire brings a GoPro to document everything. The deeper they go, the heavier the atmosphere feels. At one point, she notices two sheep standing perfectly still, staring at them, an eerie, unnatural sight that sends a chill through her. They continue searching for hours. Then, without fully understanding why, Claire feels drawn in a certain direction. She follows the feeling until she reaches a spot. And there, half buried in the grass, she finds a child's shoe. Bill and Liz arrive while searching for Claire, and Bill quickly puts the shoe into a plastic bag to keep it safe. But as they make their way back, Claire begins to panic. The tension, the isolation, and memories from her childhood are overwhelming. She just wants to leave immediately. Thankfully, they reach the road safely. Later, Bill goes to the police station, hoping to reopen Danny's case. He presents the shoe as potential new evidence, but the officer dismisses it. Without DNA, proof that the shoe was recently uncovered, or a clear reason to reopen the investigation, the case remains closed. Bill is devastated. Meanwhile, the film shows archived interviews from years ago. Locals recall the time the kidnapper was finally caught. While the community felt some relief, fear and confusion lingered. Questions remain. What did he do with the children? Why were no bodies ever recovered? The police never released his photo, and though he was sentenced to 25 years, some believe the investigation had flaws. Perhaps that explains why he didn't receive the death penalty. Determined to keep searching, Claire returns to the moors with Bill and Liz. As they explore, Bill and Liz suddenly vanish. Claire hears a faint sound and turns around, finding herself in the alley behind the same shop where Danny disappeared years ago. Everything looks just as it did in 1996. She sees a child who looks like Danny, standing alone. Suddenly, a dark figure approaches him, and Claire realizes it must be the kidnapper. Terrified, she runs toward the boy to save him, only to wake up. It was just a dream. A few days pass. With no help from the police, Bill decides to return to the moors, determined to continue the search. Before heading out, he meets Alex again, hoping to pinpoint exactly where to search next. Alex explains that he has already helped as much as he can. From Claire's perspective, the whole situation starts to feel like a scam. She wonders if Alex is just pretending to help in order to take advantage of Bill, but she's surprised to learn that Alex isn't charging anything. Whatever he's doing, it's not for money. During a tense conversation between Bill and Alex, a new truth comes out. Alex's daughter, Eleanor, has even stronger psychic abilities than he does. But using her powers can severely weaken her. That's why Alex has kept her away from all this. Bill, however, has already gone around Alex. He called Eleanor without her father's knowledge, and she has agreed to help. Alex is upset, but Eleanor is firm. She believes she can assist and wants to try, even if it puts her at risk. Soon after, Eleanor arrives with her pendulum. At first, nothing happens. But when she touches Danny's old shoe, the pendulum suddenly starts spinning on its own, then comes to a stop at a specific location on the map. Bill marks it immediately. This is now their new target. The process drains Eleanor. She looks pale and exhausted. Concerned, her father instructs her to start counting numbers out loud, a method that keeps her grounded and prevents her mind from getting lost in the spiritual realm. It's clear these powers come with a cost. Eleanor had warned earlier that whenever she uses her psychic abilities, her mind connects to another realm, a place that's hard to escape. Staying there too long can be dangerous, which is why Alex never wanted her involved. He tells her not to return to the moors, but Eleanor insists. She believes helping Bill is the right thing to do. The next day, the group Bill, Claire, Eleanor, Alex, and Liz sets out again. On the way, Eleanor tells Claire she can feel it in her bones. The Moor doesn't want them there. As they approach the location, Eleanor suddenly hears a voice, a frightened little girl crying out, a voice no one else can hear. Eleanor tries to calm her, asking who she is. The girl replies, "I don't remember anything, just darkness." Moved by this, Eleanor becomes emotional. But moments later, the voice fades into silence. Suddenly, Eleanor breaks into a run. The others follow her until she falls into a hidden pit. Alex rushes to her side. Eleanor is unconscious, still trapped in that other world. Alex urges Eleanor to count numbers out loud, grounding her back into reality. Slowly, she regains consciousness. Meanwhile, Bill starts digging near the pit, driven by a strong feeling that something is buried there. As he digs, the wall of earth nearby collapses, revealing something horrifying, a child's skeleton buried in the dirt. Everyone is shaken. It's not Danny, but another missing child, a tragic confirmation that the Moor hides more than just one secret. Soon after, the police return to the site. Old cold cases are reopened, and a formal investigation begins into the buried bodies hidden in this cursed land. For weeks pass since the discovery of the girl in the moor, yet Claire is still haunted by nightmares. The horror hasn't left her, and neither has the guilt. During a quiet conversation with Eleanor, she learns something disturbing. The girl's body was never reported missing. She wasn't even from that area. Someone had moved her and buried her in the moors. The implications are chilling. Meanwhile, Bill grows exhausted. He has been searching for decades, and though the police are now officially involved, there's still no sign of Danny. Despite everything, Bill clings to one belief: Danny's body is still out there, buried somewhere in the moor. All he wants is to find his son one last time and finally be at peace. One day, Bill and Claire visit Eleanor again, desperate for answers. Eleanor reveals something personal. A spirit named Thomas has always watched over her. He protects her in danger and guides her through spiritual journeys, but she cannot speak to him directly. To do so, Thomas must temporarily take control of her body. Bill asks if Danny is buried among the same bodies in the moor. His gut tells him all the children were taken to the same place. If they can locate the others, they can find Danny too. Eleanor agrees. She prepares for the ritual, connecting with Thomas. Soon, Thomas speaks through Eleanor. His tone is calm but heavy. When Alex asks about the missing children, Thomas explains that the children have gone silent, trapped in darkness. Bill finally asks the question he has held back for years. Is Danny there too? Before Thomas can give a clear answer, something strange happens. The map on the table suddenly becomes wet, as if touched by an unseen force. The pendulum spins wildly before stopping at a single location. That's where they must go. Without hesitation, Bill decides to head out immediately. Alex warns him it might not be safe, but this time Claire speaks up. I want to go, she says. Danny needs us. Once again, the group sets out. Bill, Claire, Eleanor, Alex, and Liz. This time, their journey takes them deeper into the moor than ever before, knowing they'll have to spend the night there. As they walk, they pass huge, ancient stones, each carved with strange markings. According to local belief, these symbols date back to the Stone Age, a sign that rituals had been taking place here long before any of them were born. Soon, heavy rain begins to fall, forcing the group to set up tents and take shelter. Inside, Eleanor warns them, Thomas doesn't want them here. Something dark inhabits this place, and it doesn't want them to stay. Tension builds. A small argument breaks out between Bill and Alex. Frustrated, Bill storms out of the tent. Liz follows him, trying to calm him down. In the darkness, Bill spots a figure moving in the distance. He takes off running, chasing it into the night, but sinks into a muddy bog. Liz pulls him out, but by the time they recover, they've wandered far from camp. Back in the tent, Alex steps outside for a moment, leaving Claire alone with Eleanor. As they wait, Eleanor suddenly asks a personal question. Bill, he's so rough. How can you stand by him? Claire pauses, then explains. Bill wasn't always this way. The day Danny was taken, he had been yelling at the police, at neighbors, at everyone. Claire had been terrified, but when he saw her, he didn't shout. He simply hugged her and asked, Are you okay? That moment changed everything. It made Claire realize Danny's disappearance wasn't her fault. Bill never blamed her. He had just broken. Before they can continue, Alex returns to the tent, but something is off. His behavior is strange, his expression vacant. Suddenly, Eleanor screams. Thomas is gone. A doorway has opened. Eleanor's voice echoes in panic. Bill and Liz hear the scream and rush back, but what they find terrifies them. Eleanor is no longer herself. Her eyes are blank, her voice has changed, and her body shakes violently. She can't bring herself back and pleads with Alex for help, but he just stares. Then, blood begins to drip from her eyes. Whatever has taken over her isn't Thomas. It's something far more violent, far older, and far more dangerous. The group can only watch in terror as Eleanor fights against the entity, unable to break free. As she convulses on the ground, Liz grabs her phone to call for help, but instead of reaching emergency services, a strange voice answers. Calmly, it says, No one can help you now. Everyone freezes. Eleanor screams, her body writhing as if something inside is tearing her apart. Unnatural voices echo from deep within her, overlapping and whispering things no one can understand. Then, Bill hears something chilling, the voice of Danny calling to him. Panicked and confused, the group runs out of the tent. The moorland around them seems alive, shifting and breathing. Moments later, Eleanor collapses, unconscious. Suddenly, Alex appears at the edge of the camp, asking what happened to Eleanor. But the group stares in horror. This isn't Alex. He was already inside with them. Realization dawns, something else has taken his place. Before they can react, strange sheep-like creatures appear, their eyes empty, their presence otherworldly. They surround the group, forming a silent circle. The group is frozen in fear. At dawn, a rescue team arrives and leads everyone back to safety. As they leave the moor, Liz notices something bizarre. The sheep-like creatures from the night before are now petrified, turned to stone. Later, at the hospital, Eleanor is treated, but she remains deeply shaken. Alex, Eleanor's father, stays by her side devastated. Meanwhile, Claire receives a call from Detective Thornley, warning her never to return to the moor. Something terrible happened there, he says, and now the kidnapper has gone missing from prison. Claire is horrified. Bill, however, has become unreachable, obsessed, unstable, and more determined than ever. Claire tries to stop him, but nothing she says works. The next day, she leaves him and returns home, finally recording an episode of her podcast to share the full story, everything she's seen and survived. In the film's final moments, GoPro footage from Claire's camera reveals the chilling truth. That night, when the others were asleep, Bill forcibly took Claire back to the ritual site. Led by a voice only he could hear, it promised that if he gave Claire as a sacrifice, his son would be returned. Claire was meant to disappear that night, not Danny. She begs him to stop, tears streaming down her face. Your son is gone. This won't bring him back. But Bill refuses to listen. He believes this is the only way. The footage shows Bill throwing Claire into the bog, the same cursed swamp where countless children were buried. As she sinks, ghostly hands rise from beneath, pulling her down. Her screams are swallowed by the earth. And then, in the final image, a boy walks out of the darkness toward Bill. It's Danny, or at least, it looks like him. Bill believes the dark force buried in the Moor demands a cost. He sacrifices Claire in a final, desperate ritual, possibly opening a path for Danny's return. But whether Danny's return is real or a delusion remains deeply ambiguous. The film leaves us questioning, is the supernatural real, or is this the tragic outcome of a grieving father's broken mind? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe to CineVoice, hit the bell icon to stay updated, and join the journey.